The grease from the fryer had seeped into my skin so deeply, I wondered if I'd ever smell like anything else. Dish soap, cheap perfume, desperation, that was my signature scent now. I wiped down the last table in the corner of Sal's diner, my lower back screaming in protest. 3 double shifts this week, 4 the week before. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in that sickly yellow glow that made even the youngest customers look half dead. "Emma, you can head out," Sal called from the kitchen, his voice rough from 40 years of cigarettes. I nodded, too tired to speak. My fingers fumbled with the apron strings, stiff and clumsy from exhaustion. The fabric had worn thin at the edges, fraying like everything else in my life. I grabbed my jacket, a threadbare thing I'd found at Goodwill, and pushed through the back door into the alley. The November air hit me like a slap. Cold. Sharp. I pulled the jacket tighter, but it did nothing against the wind that snaked between the buildings. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I almost ignored it. Bill collectors had a way of calling at the worst times, as if they knew when you were at your lowest. But something made me look. Unknown number. International code I didn't recognize. My thumb hovered over the decline button. Then I thought about Mom's hospital bills. The second notice from the landlord. The electricity company's final warning. What if it was someone who could help? What if it was one of those medical billing services Mom had mentioned, the ones that sometimes called from overseas? I answered. "Hello?" Static crackled on the other end. Then a voice, male, accent thick, words tumbling out in a language I didn't understand. Panic threaded through each syllable. "I'm sorry. I don't..." He switched to English, broken and desperate. "Please, please, help. They coming. My boss. He is shot. Hospital. Need hospital. Address I send..." "Wait, what? I think you have the wrong..." "No." The word came out like a gunshot. "You only one answer. You must help. Please, boss die if..." The line went dead. My heart hammered against my ribs. I stared at the phone, waiting for something else. An explanation. A laugh track telling me this was some kind of prank. Instead, a text message appeared, an address. Only 10 blocks away, and a single word. Please. I should have deleted it. Should have blocked the number and walked home to my shoebox apartment where the heater barely worked and the neighbors fought until 3 in the morning. Should have minded my own business like I'd learned to do in this city that chewed people up and spit them out without a second thought. But that voice, the raw fear in it, what if someone really was dying? My feet started moving before my brain caught up. I knew these streets, knew which ones to avoid after dark, where the street lights were broken, where trouble liked to gather in clusters of leather and gold chains. The address led me toward the warehouse district, where old industrial buildings squatted like sleeping giants. The cold bit through my thin jacket. My breath came out in white puffs that disappeared into the darkness. Streetlights flickered and died as I walked, as if the city itself was trying to warn me back. I shouldn't be here. Every instinct screamed it, but my feet kept moving. The address corresponded to a warehouse with broken windows and graffiti crawling up the brick walls. A black SUV sat parked at an angle near the entrance, one door hanging open. Even from a distance, I could see the shine of something wet on the pavement. Dark, spreading, blood. My stomach turned. This was insane. This was how people ended up on the news, their school photos plastered across screens with the word victim underneath. I should call the police. I should run. The phone rang again. Same number. "You there?" The voice gasped. "Please, he dying. No hospital, they find us. You help? You nurse?" "No, I'm just a waitress. You know first aid?" I thought about the mandatory training Sal had made us do last year. How to stop bleeding. CPR basics. How to use an EpiPen. A little, but... Come, please. Top floor. We pay you. Anything. Please. The line died again. I stood there, phone clutched in my shaking hand, every rational thought telling me to leave, but underneath the fear, something else stirred, curiosity, and maybe, buried deeper, a desperate hope that helping someone, anyone, might somehow balance out the cosmic scales that had been tipped against me for so long. I pushed through the warehouse door. The smell hit me first, rust and decay, mixed with something sharper, copper. More blood. My shoes crunched on broken glass as I moved through the ground floor, following the sound of voices echoing from somewhere above. Russian, maybe, or something Eastern European. The words bounced off concrete walls, urgent and clipped. Stairs materialized in the darkness. Metal, steep. Each step groaned under my weight, announcing my presence like an alarm. My hand gripped the railing, the metal so cold it burned. At the top, light spilled from a doorway. Yellow. Warm. Wrong in this cold, dead place. I stepped through. 3 men turned to look at me. The first thing I noticed was the guns. Not tucked away or hidden, just there, casually displayed like jewelry. The second thing I noticed was the blood. It was everywhere, pooled on the floor, smeared on hands, soaking through expensive fabric, and in the center of it all, slumped against the wall, was him. Even dying, he looked like he'd been carved from marble, sharp jaw shadowed with stubble. Dark hair falling across his forehead, damp with sweat. His shirt, white, or what used to be white, was torn open, revealing a chest that rose and fell in shallow, labored breaths. The bullet wound in his side leaked steadily, each pulse sending fresh blood down his ribs. But it was his eyes that stopped me cold. Even half-conscious, even drowning in pain, they held power. Dark. Bottomless. They fixed on me with an intensity that made my breath catch, not pleading, not grateful. Something else. Something that felt like recognition, though we'd never met. You came. The man who'd called me, younger, scared, his hands shaking as he pressed a jacket against the wound, looked at me like I was salvation itself. Help him, please. I should have left. Should have run back down those stairs and never looked back. Instead, I dropped to my knees beside a man who smelled like gunpowder and expensive cologne, whose blood was warm against my hands, whose eyes never left mine even as consciousness started to slip away. "What's your name?" I whispered, pressing my palm against the wound, feeling his life pulse against my skin. His lips moved, a name I didn't catch, then, barely audible. "You shouldn't be here. Neither should you," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Now shut up and let me help you." The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Then his eyes rolled back and his body went slack against me, dead weight, that I struggled to support. "No," I heard myself say. "No, stay with me. Stay awake." One of the other men was on the phone, rapid-fire words in that foreign language. The third paced, gun in hand, checking the windows like he expected an army to burst through at any moment. I worked on instinct, checked the wound, through and through, which meant the bullet had exited. Good. Maybe. I pressed harder, trying to stem the flow, my waitress uniform soaking up blood that wasn't mine. His skin was hot under my hands. "Feverish. We need to get him to a hospital," I said. "No hospital." The young one's voice was firm despite his fear. "They have people everywhere. Hospital means death. He needs a doctor. Real medical care. I don't know what You are what we have." His eyes met mine, and I saw something there that made my blood run cold. Desperation, but also certainty. Like he knew something I didn't. Like my being here wasn't an accident at all. The man in my arms stirred, his hand, large, calloused, decorated with rings that probably cost more than my yearly salary, lifted to touch my face. His fingers left streaks of blood on my cheek. "Ona," he mumbled, the word thick and slurred. Then in English, "She came." "Who?" I asked. "Who did you think I was?" But he was gone again, lost to unconsciousness or pain. I worked for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, stopped the bleeding as best I could, checked his pulse, fast but steady, his breathing, shallow but there. The men around me moved like shadows, making calls, checking weapons, arguing in voices too low for me to understand. And all the while, I knelt in blood that wasn't mine, holding a stranger who felt anything but strange, wondering what kind of mistake I'd just made. When his eyes opened again, they were clearer, focused. They found mine immediately, like a compass finding north. "Thank you," he said, his accent turning the words into something almost musical. "Then you shouldn't have come. Now they know about you." "Who?" I asked. "Who knows about me?" He tried to sit up, winced, fell back. His hand caught my wrist, grip surprisingly strong for someone who'd lost so much blood. "What's your name?" "Emma." He repeated it, like he was tasting it, testing it. "Emma." "Then, you need to leave. Now." Before, the crash of glass exploding somewhere below cut him off. Shouts, gunfire, the sharp crack of bullets finding wood, metal, flesh. The three men moved as one, weapons raised, bodies positioned between us and the door. But I could see it in their faces. They were outgunned, outnumbered. The man, their boss, I realized, pulled me down, covering my body with his despite his wound. I could feel his heart racing against my back. "Smell that cologne again, mixed with sweat and blood." "Stay down," he breathed against my ear. "No matter what happens, stay down." More gunfire, closer now. Footsteps pounding up metal stairs. I'd answered a phone call. Just a wrong number, really. A coincidence. And now I was going to die in a warehouse, held in the arms of a stranger who felt less like a stranger with every passing second. His lips brushed my temple. Not quite a kiss, but close. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm sorry you answered." The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. The door exploded inward. I'd never heard anything like it. The sharp crack of wood splintering, metal shrieking, the percussion of it hitting the concrete floor. My ears rang. The man's weight pressed me harder against the ground, his body a shield I never asked for but suddenly desperately needed. Voices shouted in that same foreign language. Commands, threats, words that needed no translation because violence has its own universal dialect. I squeezed my eyes shut, my face pressed against cold concrete that smelled like oil and rust, and waited for the bullet that would end this insane night. It didn't come. Instead, silence. Thick and suffocating, then a voice. Older, rougher than the others. "Nikolai, you look like shit." The weight lifted from my back. I felt the man, Nikolai, struggle to sit up, his hand still gripping my arm like he couldn't quite let go. "Sergei, your timing is impeccable as always." "You're welcome." Footsteps approached, heavy boots on concrete. "And who is this?" I opened my eyes to find myself staring at polished leather shoes that probably cost more than my car. If I'd had a car. I slowly lifted my gaze past dark slacks, a tailored coat, to a face that belonged in a gangster movie. Scarred, weathered, eyes like chips of ice. She saved my life. Nikolai's voice had gained strength, though I could hear the pain underneath. "Emma, this is Sergei Volkov." You're what?" I interrupted, finding my voice despite the fear crystallizing in my chest. "Your friend? Your business partner? Let me guess, your fellow member of the definitely not the Mafia club?" Sergei's laugh was unexpected, loud, genuine. "I like her. She has fire." He turned back to Nikolai. "The Albanians?" "Dead, or scattered. Dimitri's team is cleaning up." Nikolai tried to stand, failed. "We need to move. If they found us here." "My men are securing the perimeter." Sergei crouched down, examining the wound with clinical detachment. "You were lucky. Few centimeters to the left. I know. Dr. Kozlov is waiting at the estate. Can you walk? Do I have a choice?" Sergei stood, snapped his fingers. Two more men appeared. When had they entered? And moved to help Nikolai up. He grunted in pain but made it to his feet, swaying slightly. His eyes never left me. "Take her home," he said. "No." Sergei's voice was flat, final. "She comes with us." My stomach dropped. "Wait, what?" "No, I'm going home." I helped. "He's alive. We're done here." Sergei looked at me like I was a child who just said something adorably naive. "You think it's that simple? You were seen entering this building. The Albanians have eyes everywhere. By morning, they'll know your face, Your name, where you live, where you work. That's not my problem. I didn't ask for any of this. You answered the phone. Nikolai's voice cut through my rising panic. I'm sorry, Emma. But Sergei is right. You're not safe anymore. The words hit me like a physical blow. Not safe. Because I'd answered a phone call. Because I'd tried to help. Because for once in my miserable life, I'd done something good. And this was my reward. Being dragged deeper into whatever nightmare these men lived in. You can't just kidnap me, I said, hating how my voice shook. I have a job. My mom. She's sick. She needs me. I have to. We'll take care of your mother. Sergei pulled out his phone, already typing. What hospital? St. Mary's, but consider her bills paid, her care upgraded, whatever she needs. I stared at him. Why would you do that? He glanced at Nikolai. Something passing between them I couldn't read. Because you saved his life, and because whether you like it or not, you're part of this now. They moved me out of that warehouse like I was cargo. Down the stairs, past bodies I tried not to look at, into the back of an SUV that smelled like leather and gun oil. Nikolai was placed beside me, his breathing labored, his skin too pale in the passing streetlights. We drove through the city I thought I knew, but it looked different now. Dangerous. Every shadow held threats. Every car could be an enemy. The men in front spoke in low voices, checking weapons, making calls, coordinating something I didn't want to understand. I'm sorry. Nikolai's voice pulled me from my spiraling thoughts. His hand found mine in the darkness between us. This isn't how I wanted. He stopped, grimaced. You should hate me. I don't know you well enough to hate you yet, I said. Give it time. That almost smile again. You're not afraid. I'm terrified. I'm just really good at hiding it. I looked at our joined hands, his blood still staining both our skin. Who are you, really? Someone you should stay far away from. Little late for that advice. He squeezed my hand. Nikolai Volkov. I run certain operations in this city. My family has for generations. Operations. That's a nice word for it. Would you prefer I lie? I'd prefer to be home. But since we're past preferences, no, don't lie. We drove for another 20 minutes, leaving the city proper for suburbs, then past those into countryside I didn't know existed so close to urban sprawl. Trees lined the road, their branches creating a canopy that blocked out the stars. The SUV turned onto a private drive, gates opening automatically, revealing a property that looked like it belonged in a different world entirely. The house, no, the estate, sprawled across manicured lawns, all stone and glass and old-world architecture. Lights blazed from every window. Men in dark suits patrolled the grounds, visible even in the darkness. This wasn't just wealth, this was power, concentrated and fortified. Welcome to your gilded cage, I muttered. Nikolai heard. It's for your protection. Sure, that's what all kidnappers say. They helped him out of the car, but not before he gave me a look that I felt in my bones. Not threatening, not apologetic. Something else. Something that made my traitorous heart skip, despite everything screaming that I should be planning my escape. Inside, the house was even more overwhelming. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, art on the walls that probably cost more than my entire life. A doctor was waiting. Older man, calm and efficient, setting up supplies on a dining table that had been converted into a makeshift surgical station. Take her upstairs, Nikolai said to a woman who'd appeared from somewhere. Late 50s, stern face but kind eyes. Get her cleaned up, clothes, food, whatever she needs. I need to go home, I said, but no one was listening. The woman, she introduced herself as Irina, led me up a sweeping staircase to the second floor. She opened a door to a bedroom that was bigger than my entire apartment. Cream walls. King-sized bed with linens that probably had a higher thread count than I could imagine. An ensuite bathroom visible through another door. There are clothes in the closet, Irina said in accented English. Shower is through there. I'll bring food. You like tea? I like going home. Her expression softened. I understand. But right now, home is more dangerous than here. Mr. Volkov. He takes care of his people. You saved his life. That means something. I'm not his people. You are now." She moved to leave, paused at the door. "The men who attacked tonight, they would have tortured you for information before they killed you, slowly. Mr. Volkov may seem like a monster to you, but he's the monster protecting you from worse monsters. Remember that." She left me alone in that beautiful room that felt like a prison cell made of silk and gold. I stood there for a long moment processing. Then I moved. Checked the windows. Locked, and we were 3 stories up. The door, unlocked, surprisingly, but I could hear voices in the hall, guards probably. I went into the bathroom and nearly gasped. The shower had multiple heads. The tub could fit 3 people. Everything gleamed like it had never been used. I caught sight of myself in the mirror and froze. Blood. So much blood. In my hair, on my face. Soaked through my uniform until the fabric stuck to my skin. Nikolai's blood. A stranger's blood. I looked like I'd walked out of a horror movie. My hands shook as I turned on the shower. The water came out instantly hot, steam filling the room. I peeled off my ruined clothes, let them fall in a heap on the floor, and stepped under the spray. The water ran red, then pink, then finally clear. I scrubbed my skin until it hurt, trying to wash away not just the blood but the entire night. It didn't work. When I closed my eyes, I saw his face, felt his hand gripping mine, heard his voice. "You shouldn't have come. Now they know about you." I don't know how long I stood there, long enough for the water to start running cold, long enough for my fingers to prune, long enough to realize that no amount of water would make me feel clean again. When I emerged, wrapped in a towel that was softer than anything I'd ever owned, I found clothes laid out on the bed. Not cheap clothes. Designer labels I recognized from magazines. Jeans that actually fit, a cashmere sweater that felt like a cloud. Even underwear, still in packaging. Exactly my size. How did they know my size? I dressed mechanically, my body moving while my brain tried to catch up with reality. This was happening. This was real. I'd been pulled into something dark and dangerous, and there was no easy way out. A knock at the door. Irina entered with a tray, tea, sandwiches, fruit. The smell made my stomach growl. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten. "How is he?" I asked, surprising myself. "Dr. Kozlov is working on him now. The bullet went through cleanly. He'll recover." She set the tray on a small table by the window. "You should eat and sleep. Tomorrow will be complicated. Tomorrow I'm leaving." She gave me that same sad, knowing smile. "We'll see." After she left, I ate. Not because I wanted to, but because my body demanded it. The food was good. Too good. The kind of good that reminded me how long I'd been living on ramen and diner leftovers. I sat on the bed. God, it was comfortable. And pulled out my phone. Still had battery. Still had service. I could call someone. The police. A friend, if I had any left. But what would I say? I'd voluntarily walked into that warehouse. I'd helped a criminal. By any legal definition, I was probably an accessory to something. And then there was what Sergei had said. The Albanians have eyes everywhere. Was my apartment really being watched? Was my mom in danger because of me? I pulled up her number, hesitated. If I called, would I be putting her at risk? Would they trace the call? Did they even work like that? Or was I being paranoid? The door opened without a knock. Nikolai stood there, leaning heavily on the frame. He'd been cleaned up, stitched back together, dressed in fresh clothes, but his face was still too pale, his eyes shadowed with pain and something else. He shouldn't be walking, shouldn't be here. "You should be resting," I said. Couldn't. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him, locked it. "Not until I knew you were okay." I'm locked in a mansion surrounded by armed men. I'm the opposite of okay. He moved closer, each step deliberate, controlled. Like he was fighting through the pain with sheer willpower. "I know this is frightening. I know you didn't ask for any of this." "Then let me go." "I can't." He was close now. Close enough that I could smell that cologne again, mixed with antiseptic, and underneath it all, something uniquely him. "They saw you, Emma. They know you helped me. In my world, that makes you a target." The only way to keep you safe is to keep you close. For how long? Until I neutralize the threat. And how long will that take? His jaw tightened. As long as it takes. I stood up, needing to move, needing space, but the room suddenly felt too small with him in it. This is insane. You can't just keep me prisoner because I answered a phone call. You're not a prisoner. He caught my wrist as I tried to move past him. Not hard, not threatening, but firm. You're under my protection. There's a difference. Is there? I looked down at his hand on my wrist, then up at his face. Because it feels the same from where I'm standing. Something flickered in his eyes, regret, maybe, or recognition of a truth he didn't want to acknowledge. His thumb moved against my pulse point, and I hated that my body responded, heart racing, skin warming, every nerve suddenly aware of him. I won't let anything happen to you, he said quietly. I swear it. Why do you care? You don't even know me. His hand moved from my wrist to my face, fingers ghosting along my jaw where his blood had stained my skin hours before. I know you risked your life for a stranger. I know you didn't run when any sane person would have. I know. He stopped, something crossing his face too fast to read. I know I owe you a debt I can never repay. Then repay it by letting me go. Anything but that. We stood there, inches apart, the air between us electric with tension and unspoken words. His eyes searched mine like he was looking for something. Permission, understanding, absolution for sins I didn't even know he'd committed yet. You're afraid of me, he said. Not a question. Yes. Good. You should be. But his hand was gentle on my face, contradicting his words. I'm not a good man, Emma. The things I've done, I don't want to know. You will. Eventually. And when you do, you'll hate me. His thumb traced my lower lip, the gesture intimate and possessive all at once. But until then, let me keep you safe. Please. The please broke something in me. This powerful man, this criminal who commanded armies of loyal soldiers, was asking, not demanding, for permission to protect me. It should have meant nothing. It should have changed nothing, but it did. 1 week, I heard myself say. You have 1 week to fix whatever mess this is. Then I'm gone, whether it's safe or not. His smile was small but genuine, relieved. 1 week. He leaned in, and for a heartbeat I thought he might kiss me, wanted him to, which was insane. Instead, his forehead touched mine, his breath warm against my lips. Thank you, he whispered, for saving my life, for giving me this time, for being exactly who you are. Then he was gone, leaving me alone in that golden cage with the ghost of his touch on my skin, and the terrible realization that somewhere in the chaos of this impossible night, I'd stopped seeing him as just a criminal. I saw him as a man. Dangerous? Yes. Dark? Absolutely. But mine to save. Mine to protect. Mine. And that thought terrified me more than anything else. Morning came too fast and too bright. Sunlight streamed through windows I'd forgotten to close, burning through my eyelids until I had no choice but to wake. For a blissful moment, I thought it had all been a nightmare, the phone call, the warehouse, the blood. Then I opened my eyes to silk sheets and a room that cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime, and reality crashed down like a wave. I'd slept in a mobster's house, was still sleeping in a mobster's house, would be sleeping here for at least a week unless I could find a way out that didn't end with me dead in an alley somewhere. A soft knock preceded Irina entering with a breakfast tray. The smell of fresh coffee and pastries made my stomach growl despite my anxiety. Good morning, she said, setting the tray on the bedside table. Mr. Volkov asks that you join him for breakfast downstairs when you're ready. And if I'm not ready, her smile was patient, practiced. Then he will wait, but the food will get cold. She left before I could argue. I stared at the tray, croissants that looked handmade, fresh fruit cut into perfect pieces, coffee in a cup so delicate I was afraid to touch it. My usual breakfast was whatever stale bagel Sal hadn't sold the day before, eaten standing up between customers. I ate slowly, trying to make sense of my situation. I needed information, needed to understand what I was really dealing with. The TV remote sat on the nightstand, and I grabbed it, flipping through channels until I found local news. Shooting in the warehouse district last night left 3 men dead and 2 others critically injured. Police are investigating what they believe to be gang-related violence. Authorities are asking anyone with information to... 3 dead. My hands shook around the coffee cup. 3 people had died last night, and I'd been there. I'd been part of it, whether I wanted to be or not. I turned off the TV and forced myself to get dressed. The closet held more clothes than I'd seen outside a department store. All in my size, all expensive, all carefully chosen. Someone had put thought into this. Had known I was coming before I even knew myself. That realization chilled me more than the violence. I chose jeans and a simple black sweater, refusing to wear anything too expensive or beautiful. This wasn't my life. These weren't my clothes. I was a waitress from the wrong side of town, and no amount of designer fabric would change that. The house was even more intimidating in daylight. I found my way downstairs following the sound of voices, passing rooms filled with art and antiques. Hallways lined with photographs of men in expensive suits shaking hands with people I half recognized. Politicians, business leaders, people who definitely shouldn't be shaking hands with the Russian Mafia. But here was the proof, framed and hung like trophies. The dining room was massive. The table could seat 20 easily, but only 2 places were set. One at the head, where Nikolai sat reading a tablet, and one to his right. He looked up when I entered, and something softened in his expression. "You slept well?" he asked. "No." I sat down because standing felt like giving him power. I dreamed about blood and bullets and making the worst decision of my life. The honest answer. I appreciate that. He set down the tablet. In daylight, I could see the toll last night had taken. Dark circles under his eyes. A tightness around his mouth that spoke of pain he was trying to hide. He should still be in bed. Coffee? I already had some. American coffee or real coffee? Despite everything, my mouth twitched. Is there a difference? He poured from a silver carafe, the smell rich and dark. Try it. I took the cup he offered, our fingers brushing. That electricity again, crackling between us like a live wire. I sipped to cover my reaction, and... Okay, fine. It was the best coffee I'd ever tasted. You were right, I admitted. There's a difference. I'm usually right about most things. He leaned back, studying me with those dark eyes that saw too much. You're angry with me. Observant. You have every right to be, but anger won't change the situation. Neither will expensive coffee and designer clothes. I set down the cup harder than necessary. I want to see my mother. His expression shifted, became careful. That's not possible right now. Why not? Because the moment you leave this property, you become a target, and anyone you visit becomes collateral damage. He pulled out his phone, typed something, then turned it to show me. But I had my people check on her this morning. The screen showed a photograph, Mom in her hospital bed, sleeping peacefully. The room was different than before, bigger, brighter, flowers on the windowsill, new equipment blinking and beeping. I moved her to a private suite, Nikolai said. The best doctors, 24-hour nursing care, security posted outside her door, though they're dressed as hospital staff. My throat tightened. You can't just... I already did. He pulled the phone back. Your mother has stage 3 lung cancer. She's been in and out of St. Mary's for 6 months. The prognosis isn't good with standard treatment, but I've arranged for Dr. Chen from Boston General to consult. He's one of the best oncologists in the country. I stared at him, emotions warring in my chest. Gratitude, anger, confusion. How do you know all that? I know everything about you, Emma Reyes. 24 years old, mother sick, father died when you were 12. You dropped out of community college to work full-time when her diagnosis came. 3 jobs at one point, now down to 2 since you got the waitressing position at Sal's. He paused. You're drowning in debt, medical bills, student loans you can't pay. Your landlord is threatening eviction. Your electricity was shut off twice last month. Each fact felt like a slap. You had me investigated. I had you protected. There's a difference. You keep saying that. Protected. Like it makes this okay. Like knowing every detail of my pathetic life is somehow for my own good. He stood. moved around the table until he was close. Too close. Your life isn't pathetic. You're surviving impossible circumstances with grace and strength most people couldn't muster. You work yourself to exhaustion to save someone you love. That's not pathetic, Emma. That's heroic. Stop. The word came out broken. Stop trying to make this something it's not. You're a criminal. You had people killed last night. You're keeping me here against my will. Don't pretend this is anything other than what it is. And what is it? Kidnapping. Imprisonment. I don't know. Human trafficking? His jaw tightened. I would never. He stopped, took a breath. You're free to walk out that door right now. I won't stop you. I looked at him, searching for the lie. Found only certainty. Really? Really. But the moment you step outside these gates, you're on your own. No protection, no security. And the men who tried to kill me last night, they'll come for you. They'll use you to get to me, and they won't be gentle about it. You're saying I'm only safe as long as I stay. I'm saying the world outside these walls is more dangerous than the one inside them. At least here, I can keep you alive. What kind of choice is that? The only one I can give you. He moved back to his seat, and I could see the pain in the careful way he lowered himself. I know this isn't fair. I know you deserve better than to be dragged into my world. But fair doesn't matter when you're dead. Silence fell between us, heavy and complicated. Outside the window, I could see guards patrolling. Inside, I could hear the tick of an antique clock and my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. How long? I finally asked. How long until it's really safe? The Albanians won't give up easily. They've been trying to move into my territory for months. Last night was their biggest play yet, and I survived. That makes me, and anyone associated with me, a priority target. He met my eyes. Honestly, it could be weeks, maybe longer. You said 1 week. I said what you needed to hear to keep you from doing something reckless. No apology in his voice, just truth. I won't lie to you again, Emma. Not about this. You're in danger as long as this war continues. The only way to end it is to end them. End them, I repeated. You mean kill them? I mean eliminate the threat, however necessary. The casual way he said it, like he was discussing pest control instead of murder, should have repulsed me. Should have sent me running despite the danger. Instead, I found myself asking, and you're going to do this yourself while still recovering from a gunshot wound? Something flickered in his expression, surprise maybe. I have people. You almost died last night. You can barely move without pain, even though you're trying to hide it. How exactly are you planning to wage a war against the Albanian mob in your condition? That's not your concern. If my safety depends on you winning, then it absolutely is my concern. We stared at each other across the table, and I saw the moment something shifted in his eyes. Respect, maybe, or recognition that I wasn't going to play the helpless damsel he could tuck away and forget about. You're right, he said slowly. I'm not at full strength, which is why I'm meeting with my captains this afternoon to coordinate our response. I'll be strategic, not reckless. And what am I supposed to do while you're being strategic? Sit in my golden cage and wait? You could explore the house. The library has over 10,000 books. The gym. I don't want to use your gym. I want my life back. I know. And for the first time, he sounded genuinely sorry. But until I can give you that safely, this is the best I can offer. A phone rang. His. He answered in Russian, his tone shifting to something harder, colder. The man who'd been almost gentle with me disappeared, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. He spoke rapidly, gesturing with his free hand, his face darkening with each passing second. When he hung up, the temperature in the room had dropped 10 degrees. What? I asked. The Albanians hit one of my shipments this morning. 3 of my men are dead, and they took 2 million in merchandise. He stood, ignoring the pain it clearly caused. I need to deal with this. Wait, you're leaving? Now? This is my business, Emma, my responsibility. You just got shot. You should be resting, not running off to... To what? To do my job? To protect what's mine? He moved toward me, and I saw something dangerous in his eyes now. Something that reminded me exactly what he was. This is who I am. This is the world you're in now. Men died last night protecting me. More died this morning in my name. I owe them justice. I owe them retribution. You owe them your life, I shot back. And you can't give them that if you're dead. He stopped, stared at me like I'd said something profound instead of obvious. You're worried about me. I'm worried about being stuck here if you get yourself killed. I lied. Don't flatter yourself. But we both knew it was a lie, could feel it in the air between us, thick and charged. I was worried about him, this stranger who'd turned my life upside down. This criminal who made me coffee and knew everything about me and looked at me like I was something precious instead of disposable. I'll be careful, he said quietly. I promise. Your promises don't mean much when you're walking into danger. Then what would make you feel better? You staying alive long enough to actually fix this mess you dragged me into. He smiled. A real smile this time. Not the almost smile, but something genuine and warm that transformed his face. I can do that. He moved to leave, paused at the door. Emma? What? Thank you. For caring, even if you won't admit it. Then he was gone, taking with him the strange energy that seemed to fill whatever space he occupied. I sat there in that enormous dining room, surrounded by luxury I'd never imagined, and wondered when exactly I'd stopped seeing Nikolai Volkov as my captor and started seeing him as something infinitely more dangerous, someone I couldn't afford to lose. The thought terrified me, but not as much as the realization that followed. I was already his. Whether I wanted to be or not, some invisible thread had been forged between us in that warehouse, sealed with blood and desperation, and the simple act of me choosing to help when I should have run. And now, sitting alone in his house, wearing his clothes, drinking his coffee, I understood the truth Irina had tried to tell me last night. I wasn't his prisoner. I was his responsibility, his obsession, his to protect. And God help me, some part of me didn't want to fight it anymore. The hours crawled by like wounded animals. I explored the house because sitting still felt like drowning. Each room revealed more wealth, more power, more evidence of a life so far removed from mine, it might as well have been on another planet. A library with leather-bound books in languages I couldn't read. A music room with a grand piano that probably cost more than my mother's entire medical treatment. An art gallery. An actual gallery, with paintings I recognized from art history classes I'd taken in my single year of college. This wasn't just money. This was generations of accumulated power and influence, built on foundations I didn't want to examine too closely. I found myself in what looked like an office. Dark wood, heavy furniture, a massive desk with a laptop closed on top. The walls were lined with photographs, Nikolai shaking hands with men in expensive suits, standing beside luxury cars, attending galas in tuxedos that made him look like he belonged in a different century. Old-world elegance mixed with new-world danger, but it was the smaller photos that caught my attention. Tucked between the formal ones were personal shots. A younger Nikolai with an older man who had the same dark eyes, the same sharp jawline. His father, probably. Both of them standing in front of this very house, the older man's hand on Nikolai's shoulder, in a gesture that looked more like ownership than affection. Another photo showed a woman, beautiful, blonde, smiling at the camera with the kind of confidence that came from never knowing struggle. She wore a ring on her left hand, and she was standing close to Nikolai, but not touching. Something about the image felt staged. Performative. That's Katarina. Irina's voice made me jump. She stood in the doorway, a dust cloth in her hands like she'd been cleaning, but I suspected she'd been sent to check on me. They were engaged. Were? She died 2 years ago. Car accident. Irina moved into the room, started dusting surfaces that already looked spotless. Mr. Volkov was different after. Harder. More focused on business, less on anything else. I looked at the photo again, at Nikolai's expression, polite but distant, like he was fulfilling an obligation rather than celebrating a relationship. Did he love her? It was arranged. Their families had agreements. Love wasn't part of the equation. Irina paused, but her death affected him deeply. He blamed himself for not being there, for not protecting her. Was it really an accident? She met my eyes, and I saw the answer before she spoke. The official report says yes. Mr. Volkov believes otherwise. He's spent 2 years investigating, looking for proof that it was the Albanians sending a message. My stomach twisted. And if he finds proof, then God help them. She moved to leave, stopped. You should know. He doesn't let people in easily. After Katarina, after everything, he built walls that most people can't scale. But you... She studied me with those kind, knowing eyes. You're different. I see the way he looks at you. He barely knows me. Some connections don't require time. Just recognition. She smiled softly. My grandmother used to say that souls recognize each other across lifetimes. Maybe that's foolish, but I've watched Mr. Volkov for 5 years, and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. She left me alone with that thought, and a chest full of conflicting emotions I didn't want to name. I spent the afternoon in the library, trying to lose myself in books. But my attention kept drifting to the windows, watching guards patrol, cars come and go, the machinery of Nikolai's empire moving even in his absence. Every vehicle that arrived made my heart jump, hoping it was him. Dreading it was news of him. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red that looked too much like fire, when I heard the commotion, voices raised, footsteps running, the kind of urgent movement that spoke of crisis. I ran toward the sound, found myself in the main foyer just as the front doors burst open. Sergei came through first, his face grim, and behind him, Nikolai, supported by 2 men, blood seeping through his shirt, fresh blood, new wounds. What happened? The words tore out of me before I could stop them. Emma. Nikolai's voice was strained. You should... What happened? I repeated, moving toward him without thinking, my hands already reaching for him. Albanian ambush. Sergei's voice was tight with barely controlled rage. They were waiting at the warehouse. Someone tipped them off. How bad? I asked, already examining what I could see. Blood soaking through his shirt on the left side, a gash on his forehead, favoring his right leg. Not as bad as it looks, but Nikolai's face was pale, his breathing shallow. Where's the doctor? Delayed. There was an incident. Sergei's phone rang, cutting him off. He answered, his expression darkening further with whatever he heard. Fuck. The doctor's clinic was raided, police everywhere. Someone's making moves against us on multiple fronts. Then I'll do it. The words came out steady, certain. Get him somewhere I can work. I need supplies. Clean towels, hot water, rubbing alcohol, needle and thread if you have it, bandages. Emma, you don't have to. Nikolai started. Shut up and let me help you. I looked at Sergei. Now. Before he loses any more blood. They moved him to a room on the first floor, some kind of sitting room converted into a medical station. I worked on instinct and half-remembered training, stripping away his ruined shirt to reveal the damage. A bullet grazed along his ribs, deep but not life-threatening. The head wound was superficial, already clotting. The leg, twisted ankle, maybe sprained. My hands moved with confidence I didn't feel, cleaning wounds, applying pressure, stitching skin with the kind of precision that came from pure adrenaline and stubborn determination not to let him bleed out on my watch. Again. You're good at this, Nikolai said through gritted teeth as I worked on his ribs. Don't get shot so often and I won't have to be. I'll take it under advisement. He sucked in a breath as I pulled a stitch tight. Where did you learn? Community college. I was pre-med for exactly 1 semester before reality hit, and I had to choose between education and keeping the lights on. I tied off the thread, moved to clean the head wound. Turns out I'm pretty good at stopping people from dying. Too bad it doesn't pay the bills. It does now. I paused. Antiseptic-soaked cloth halfway to his forehead. What? You work for me now. Consider this your new position. Personal physician to the Volkov family. His eyes met mine, and despite the pain, I saw something else there. Something that made my pulse race. The pay is considerably better than waitressing. I'm not working for you. You're literally stitching me back together right now. That's different. That's just basic human decency. There's nothing basic or decent about you, Emma Reyes. He caught my wrist as I cleaned his wound, his grip gentle but firm. "You're extraordinary. Don't you see that? I see a man who keeps getting himself shot because he's too stubborn to stay down. I'm starting to think you like playing doctor. I'm starting to think you have a death wish. Maybe I do." His voice dropped lower. "Or maybe I just like having you close enough to save me." The words hung in the air between us, loaded with meaning I wasn't ready to unpack. I pulled my hand away, finished cleaning the wound, applied a bandage with more force than necessary. "There. You'll live. Again." I stepped back, surveying my work. "But seriously, Nikolai, this has to stop. You can't keep throwing yourself into danger like this. It's my job to protect what's mine. And who protects you? You do, apparently." He tried to sit up, winced. "Twice now you've pulled me back from the edge. Starting to think you're my guardian angel. Angels don't exist in your world." "No, but you do." He reached for my hand, pulled me closer until I was standing between his knees. Blood stained both of us now, his and mine mixing together like they had in the warehouse. "I made you a promise that I'd keep you safe, but I'm starting to realize you're the one keeping me safe. Someone has to. You're clearly terrible at it yourself." He laughed, actually laughed, then immediately regretted it as pain shot through his ribs. "Fuck, don't make me laugh. It hurts. Good. Maybe pain will teach you sense." His hands found my hips, holding me in place when I would have stepped away. "I need to tell you something. About today. About what happened." The seriousness in his tone made my stomach drop. "What?" "The ambush wasn't random. Someone inside my organization gave them my location. Someone close." His jaw tightened. "I have a traitor in my ranks. How do you know?" "Only 5 people knew where I was going today. All of them have been with me for years. All of them sworn to loyalty." His eyes searched mine. "This changes everything. If I can't trust my own people, then nowhere is safe. Not even here." The implication sank in slowly. "You think someone in this house—" "I don't know what to think anymore." He pulled me closer, his forehead resting against my stomach, his breath warm through my sweater. "I just know that you're the only person I trust completely. You, who should hate me. You, who has every reason to betray me. But you don't. You save me instead." My hands moved of their own accord, fingers threading through his hair. The gesture intimate, comforting, dangerous. Maybe I'm the traitor. Maybe this is all part of my master plan. Then it's working. He looked up at me, and the vulnerability in his expression stole my breath. "Because I'm completely at your mercy." The moment stretched between us, fragile and electric, his hands on my hips, mine in his hair, both of us covered in blood and bad decisions. I should have stepped away, should have remembered that this man was dangerous, that this world would destroy me, that nothing good could come from whatever was building between us. Instead, I leaned down and kissed him. It wasn't gentle, wasn't romantic. It was raw and desperate and tasted like copper and need. His hands tightened on my hips, pulling me closer even as I tried to maintain some distance. But distance was impossible now. Had been impossible since the moment I'd answered that phone call. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were dark with something that went beyond desire. "Emma," he breathed. "If you do that again, I won't be able to let you go. Maybe I don't want you to let me go. You don't know what you're saying." I know exactly what I'm saying. I traced his jawline with my fingertips, felt him shudder under my touch. "I know this is insane. I know you're dangerous. I know I should be running as far and fast as I can, but I'm not. I'm here. And I'm not leaving. Even knowing what I am, especially knowing what you are." I kissed him again, softer this time, because I see who you are under all the blood and violence. I see the man who protected me with his own body, who's taking care of my mother, who looks at me like I'm something precious instead of disposable. That man, I'm not afraid of him. "You should be," he whispered against my lips, "because that man will never let you go, will never stop wanting you, will burn down the world to keep you safe." "Then burn it." I pulled back enough to meet his eyes. "I'm tired of being afraid, tired of playing it safe. For once in my life, I want something that's mine. And right now, What I want is you." Something broke in his expression, the last wall crumbling. He stood despite his injuries, his hands framing my face like I was made of glass. "Then you have me," he said. "Every dark, damaged piece of me. But Emma, once you're mine, that's it. There's no going back, no escape. I don't know how to love anything without consuming it." "Then consume me." The words came out as a challenge. A surrender, both. He kissed me like he was drowning and I was air. Like I was the only thing keeping him tethered to something resembling humanity. His hands were in my hair, on my back, everywhere and nowhere near enough. I pressed closer, careful of his wounds but desperate for contact, for connection, for proof that this insane feeling building between us was real. A cough from the doorway broke us apart. Sergei stood there, his expression carefully neutral, but I caught the flash of surprise before he masked it. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, not sounding sorry at all. "But we have a situation." Nikolai's arms stayed around me, protective and possessive. "What kind of situation?" "The kind that requires your immediate attention. We found the leak." The temperature in the room dropped. Nikolai's expression shifted back to the cold, dangerous man I'd seen glimpses of. "Who?" "Dmitri." The name meant nothing to me, but I felt Nikolai's entire body tense. "Dmitri? Are you certain?" "Phone records, bank transfers. He's been feeding information to the Albanians for 6 months, including your location this afternoon." Sergei's face was granite. "He's in the holding room, waiting for you." Nikolai's jaw tightened. When he spoke, his voice was ice. "Good. I'll deal with him personally." "No." The word came out before I could stop it. Both men turned to look at me. "You're injured. You need to rest." "This can't wait." Nikolai's tone brooked no argument. "Betrayal demands immediate response, or others will think weakness." "Then let Sergei handle it. This is my responsibility, my family, my justice to deliver." I understood what he was really saying, what he was about to go do. My stomach turned, but I forced myself to meet his eyes. "Then I'm coming with you." "Absolutely not. You want me to understand your world, to be part of it? Then show me, all of it, even the parts that make me uncomfortable." "Emma, I'm not a child, and I'm not some delicate flower that needs to be protected from reality. If this is your life, if this is the world you're asking me to choose, then I need to see it." I held his gaze. "All of it." He studied me for a long moment, something warring behind his eyes. Then slowly he nodded. "Okay. But Emma, once you see this, you can't unsee it. This is the line. Cross it with me and there's no going back to who you were before." I know. And I did. Could feel it in my bones. The point of no return rushing toward us like a train. "I'm ready." But as I followed Nikolai and Sergei through the house toward whatever waited in that holding room, I wondered if anyone was ever really ready to watch the man they were falling for become a monster. The holding room was in the basement, a detail that should have warned me but didn't. We descended concrete stairs into shadows that smelled like earth and something metallic I didn't want to identify. Each step felt like walking deeper into a world I couldn't come back from. Nikolai moved ahead of me, his injuries forgotten in the cold focus that had overtaken him. This was a different man than the one who'd kissed me upstairs. This was the monster everyone feared. And I'd asked to see him. The room itself was stark, concrete walls, a single chair bolted to the floor, and in that chair, zip-tied and bleeding from a split lip, sat a man I recognized from the photographs upstairs, one of Nikolai's captains, Dmitri. Younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with the kind of face that probably charmed people easily. Right now, that face was twisted with fear. "Nikolai." His voice cracked. "Let me explain." "Explain?" Nikolai's voice was soft, deadly. "Explain how you sold me out to the Albanians? How you gave them my locations, my shipments, my movements? How 3 of my men died this morning because of information you provided? They had my sister. They said they'd kill her if I didn't, so you chose her life over mine, over your brother's, over the family that took you in when you had nothing." Nikolai circled the chair slowly, a predator assessing prey. "How long, Dmitri? How long have you been betraying us? 6 months. But I swear I only gave them small things at first. Routes, schedules, nothing that would what? Get me killed? Nikolai stopped in front of him. Last night I almost died. Today I almost died again. Because of you. I'm sorry. God, Nikolai, I'm so sorry. But they have Anya, my little sister. She's only 19. She doesn't know anything about this life, and they said, "Where is she?" I heard myself ask. Both men turned to look at me like they'd forgotten I was there. Who the fuck is she? Dimitri's eyes darted between us. Answer her question. Nikolai's tone made it clear this wasn't optional. I don't know. They move her every few days. Different locations. They send me photos to prove she's alive, but his voice broke. I didn't know what else to do. I moved closer, studying his face. Fear, yes, but underneath it, genuine anguish. The kind of desperation I recognized because I'd felt it every time I looked at my mother's hospital bills. Do you have the photos? He nodded toward his pocket. Sergei retrieved a phone, unlocked it, handed it to me. I scrolled through images of a young woman, dark hair, Dimitri's eyes, in what looked like a basement apartment. Each photo was dated, the most recent from this morning. She's in the city, I said, studying the backgrounds. I can see a bus route sign through the window in this one. Route 43. That only runs through the industrial district. Nikolai moved beside me, looking at the screen. Something flickered in his expression. Calculation. Strategy. Sergei, get Alexei on the phone. Tell him to pull up all our surveillance in that area. Cross-reference with Albanian properties we know about. You're going to find her? Dimitri's voice was desperate with hope. I'm going to eliminate a problem, Nikolai corrected. Whether that includes rescuing your sister depends entirely on how cooperative you are right now. He crouched in front of Dimitri, his voice dropping lower. Tell me everything. Every contact. Every conversation. Every piece of information you gave them. Leave nothing out. Dimitri talked. For 20 minutes he spilled everything. Names, locations, plans, weaknesses in the Albanian operation. I watched Nikolai absorb it all, his mind clearly working through strategies and countermoves. This was why he led. Not just the violence, but the intelligence behind it, the ability to see 10 moves ahead. When Dimitri finished, Nikolai stood. Sergei, take a team. Find the girl. If she's alive and unharmed, bring her here. And him? Sergei nodded toward Dimitri. Nikolai was silent for a long moment. In that silence, I could feel Dimitri's terror, could see him bracing for the bullet, the blade, whatever end he'd earned through his betrayal. Keep him here until we have his sister, Nikolai finally said. If she's alive, we'll discuss his punishment. If she's not... He didn't finish the sentence, didn't need to. Sergei nodded, made calls, left with 3 other men. The room felt smaller with just the 3 of us. Dimitri sagged in the chair, relief and fear still warring on his face. Nikolai turned to me. You're quiet. I'm processing. Disappointed? I thought about it. Honestly examined what I'd just witnessed. You could have killed him. Should have, by the rules of your world. But you didn't. Not yet. But you're trying to save his sister first. That's not what monsters do. His expression shifted, surprise mixed with something softer. You don't know the things I've done, Emma, the people I've hurt. Don't make me into something I'm not. I'm not. I'm seeing exactly what you are. I moved closer, lowered my voice so Dimitri couldn't hear. You're dangerous. You're capable of terrible things, but you're not senseless about it. You operate by a code. Loyalty matters to you, family matters. And right now, you're risking resources and time to save a 19-year-old girl who means nothing to you because she means something to him. Or I'm just eliminating an Albanian leverage point. Maybe. But I don't think that's all it is. I glanced at Dimitri, then back to Nikolai. What will you do with him? After. That depends on several factors. If his sister is alive and we rescue her, then he lives. But he can never be part of my organization again. Trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt. I'll give him money, new identities for both of them, and send them far away. And if she's dead, his jaw tightened. Then he made his choice for nothing and he'll pay the price, quick and clean. I'm not cruel without cause. Somehow, That answer was both comforting and horrifying. We left Dimitri in that basement room, guarded by 2 men, and returned upstairs. The house felt different now, heavier. Or maybe I was different, changed by what I'd seen, by the choice I'd made to witness it. Nikolai led me to his study, the same one where I'd found the photographs earlier. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a crystal decanter, handed me one. I took it, grateful for something to do with my hands. "You're handling this remarkably well," he observed. "Am I? Because I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, and I'm not sure if I'm about to fall or fly." "Both, probably." He sipped his whiskey, studying me over the rim. "This is your last chance, Emma. Walk away now and I'll let you. I'll make sure you're protected, that your mother is cared for. You can go back to your life. My life was working myself to death for minimum wage, watching my mother slowly die because I couldn't afford better care. Coming home to an empty apartment where the electricity might be on, or might not. That's what you're offering me? I'm offering you safety, normal. A world where people don't get shot in warehouses or tortured in basements. And what about you? Do I get you in this normal world?" His expression cracked, vulnerability showing through. "No. You'd have to leave me behind. Then I don't want it." I set down my glass, moved to stand in front of him. "I know this is crazy. I know I should want the safe option. But Nikolai, for the first time in years, I feel alive. I feel like I matter to someone, like I'm more than just a waitress struggling to survive. You see me, really see me. And I see you too, all of you, even the dark parts. Especially the dark parts," he corrected, his hand coming up to cup my face. "You walked into that basement knowing what you'd see, knowing what I was capable of, and you didn't run. I'm not running now either." He kissed me then, deep and claiming, tasting like whiskey and promises and danger. His hands were in my hair, on my back, pulling me impossibly closer. I melted into him, all my defenses crumbling under the intensity of wanting someone this much. "I need to know you're sure," he said against my lips, "because once I have you, really have you, I won't be able to let go. You'll be mine in every way that matters." "I'm already yours. Have been since that warehouse, maybe even before, from the moment I answered that phone." I met his eyes, let him see the truth in mine. "I choose this. I choose you. All of it." Something blazed in his expression, triumph and relief, and a possessiveness that should have scared me but didn't. He lifted me onto his desk, stepped between my legs, kissed me like he was claiming territory. And maybe he was. Maybe I was finally letting someone claim me after years of fighting alone. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again, and again. "Answer it," I breathed. "It might be about the girl." He growled in frustration but pulled away, checked the screen. His entire demeanor changed, tension coiling through him. "They found her. She's alive. Sergei's bringing her in." "That's good news." "It is. But there's more." He scrolled through messages, his jaw tightening. The Albanians weren't just holding her for leverage. They were using her location as bait. They expected Dimitri to tell us where she was. They're waiting in ambush. My stomach dropped. Sergei knows. He's being careful, but this means they're getting desperate, willing to sacrifice one of their leverage points just for a chance at my men. He looked at me, conflict clear on his face. "I need to coordinate the extraction. Make sure my people get out safely. Then go. I'll be here. I don't want to leave you. I'm not going anywhere." I slid off the desk, straightened my clothes. "Go do what you need to do. Save that girl. Keep your people safe. I'll still be here when you're done." He pulled me close one more time, kissed my forehead. "I'm going to end this war, Emma. Whatever it takes. And then we figure out what this is, what we are." I smiled, trying for confidence I didn't quite feel. "Together." He left, phone already to his ear, barking orders in Russian. I stood alone in his study, surrounded by the evidence of his life, his power, his world. A world I was choosing to become part of. The next few hours passed in agonizing slowness. I paced, read books without absorbing words, stared out windows at grounds I couldn't leave. Irina brought food I couldn't eat. Every sound made me jump, expecting news, hoping for good, fearing worse. It was past midnight when they returned. I heard the commotion, ran to the foyer. Sergei entered first, supporting a thin, terrified girl who could only be Anya. Behind them, Nikolai, blood on his shirt again. But not his this time, I hoped. More men. All of them grim-faced but alive. "Is everyone—" I started. "Too injured, but they'll live," Nikolai said. "The girl is unharmed." Anya was crying, shaking, clearly traumatized. I moved to her instinctively, the same impulse that had made me answer that phone call pushing me forward. Hey, you're safe now. It's okay." She looked at me with eyes too old for 19. "My brother is alive. He's here. You'll see him soon." I guided her toward Irina, who'd appeared with blankets and tea. "Let's get you cleaned up first, okay? Then we'll take you to him." She nodded mutely. Let Irina lead her away. I turned back to Nikolai, saw him watching me with an expression I couldn't read. "What?" "You're a natural caretaker, even with strangers, even in chaos." He moved closer, seemingly oblivious to the blood and dirt covering him. "How did I get this lucky? To have you answer that call, to have you save me, to have you choose this. Maybe it wasn't luck. Maybe it was fate. I don't believe in fate. Neither did I. Until you." I took his hand, not caring about the blood or the men watching or anything except the feeling of his skin against mine. What happens now? With Dmitri and his sister, I keep my word. They get new lives, new names, money to start over somewhere far from here. His thumb traced circles on my palm. The price for his betrayal is exile. He loses everything he built here, everyone he knew, but he keeps his life and his sister. That's more mercy than most would show. It's the right choice, or it's weakness. It's strength, real strength. Anyone can kill. It takes real power to show mercy. I squeezed his hand. "What about the Albanians? Is it over?" "Not yet, but we hurt them badly tonight. Took out one of their major operations, rescued their leverage. They'll regroup, but they're wounded, and wounded animals make mistakes." His eyes met mine, dark and determined. "I'm going to end this, Emma, soon. And then you and I will figure out what comes next." "I already know what comes next." "Oh, we live, we fight, we figure out how to build something real in the middle of all this chaos." I pulled him closer, rose on my toes to kiss him. We choose each other. Every day. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. You make it sound simple. It is simple. Not easy, but simple. I rested my forehead against his. "I love you, Nikolai Volkov. I didn't plan to. Didn't want to. And I'm not going anywhere." The words hung between us, raw and true. His arms came around me, holding me like I might disappear if he let go. "I love you too," he whispered against my hair. "I've loved you since you knelt in blood to save a stranger, since you looked at me with fire in your eyes instead of fear, since you chose to stay when any rational person would run." He pulled back just enough to see my face. "You're mine now. Completely. Forever. Forever is a long time." Not long enough. The weeks that followed were a blur of violence and planning, of Nikolai methodically dismantling the Albanian operation piece by piece. I stayed by his side through it all, not in the field, but in the planning rooms, the strategy sessions, the late-night debriefs, learning his world, understanding the chess game of organized crime. My mother's health improved with the better care. I visited her under guard, watched her color return, her strength build. She asked questions about how I could suddenly afford all this, and I told her partial truths. Met someone, he's helping us. It's complicated. She was too grateful to push too hard. 3 months after that first phone call, Nikolai eliminated the last Albanian stronghold in the city. The war was over. His territory was secure. And I was still there, still choosing him, still building something that looked suspiciously like a life. He found me in the library one evening, reading by the fire. The same place I'd spent so many hours those first terrifying days. "I have something for you," he said, sitting beside me. I closed the book, turned to face him. He looked different now, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. The wounds had healed, the immediate danger had passed. What remained was just us. He handed me a small box. Inside, a key. What's this? The key to this house, to my life, to everything I have. His hand covered mine. I'm not asking you to marry me, not yet. We're too new for that, despite everything. But I'm asking you to stay, officially, to make this place your home, to build a life here with me. Tears pricked my eyes. You're sure? Even knowing I'm just a waitress from the wrong side of town? That I have no connections, no useful skills, nothing to bring to this arrangement except myself? You bring everything that matters. Compassion, strength, the ability to see humanity in monsters, the courage to stand beside me instead of behind me. He cupped my face, thumbs wiping away tears I hadn't realized were falling. You saved my life, Emma, and then you saved my soul. Everything I have is yours. Everything I am is yours, if you'll have me. I thought about that phone call, that impossible choice in a dark alley, the warehouse and the blood, and the moment I'd decided to answer instead of ignore. One decision, one moment. And it had changed everything. Yes, I whispered. Yes to all of it. To this house and this life and you. All of you. He kissed me then, slow and deep and full of promise. Outside, guards patrolled. Inside, the machinery of his empire continued turning. But in this moment, in this space between the past and the future, there was just us. A criminal and a waitress. A monster and an angel. Two people who shouldn't have worked but somehow did. I'd answered a foreign call and ended up saving the Mafia boss. But he'd saved me too. From a life of endless struggle, from invisibility, from believing I deserved nothing more than survival. He'd given me power, choice, love, and I'd given him the same. In the end, that's all salvation really was. Two broken people choosing to piece each other back together, one impossible day at a time. The fire crackled. The house settled into evening quiet. And in Nikolai Volkov's arms, surrounded by luxury born of blood and darkness, I finally felt like I'd come home, not in spite of the danger, but because of it. Because of him. Because I'd answered a phone call that changed everything, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat, every single time.